Welcome to the Squared Circle Psychobabble. My name is Michael Valenti. This is Ralph Valenti, and this is our shoot or work episode where we take the week's wrestling rumors, say shoot if they're going to happen, and work if they don't. Before we get started, make sure you subscribe and hit the bell for notifications as we're trying to get to 1,000 YouTube subscribers before the Royal Rumble. In tonight's shoot or work episode, we're talking about a couple rumored matches for WrestleMania. So Ralph, let's start it off with possibly one that could end up being a main event or a top of the card match. And it involves Brock Lesnar and what he could be doing at WrestleMania. So we've talked about possibly Drew McIntyre. We've talked about Braun Strowman. But recently we've come with the new rumor, and that is Seth Rollins could be facing Brock Lesnar at WrestleMania. Shoot or work on Brock Lesnar versus Seth Rollins at WrestleMania.
I'm going to say this is a shoot. The reason I'm going to say that is when you look at the lay of the land on Monday Night Raw, there's not really too many top guys that you have as far as faces are concerned. The most logical pick when just kind of analyzing who's there, who's on top, who's over, would be Seth Rollins to me. And the other thing is these two kind of have some unfinished business going back to when they had their match, I believe, is at SummerSlam, and I think
Night of Champions, the one where Undertaker interrupted.
So
that was Night of Champions.
Okay, so and it led to the match, I believe, at SummerSlam. Either way, so these two kind of have some unfinished business. I think it'd be really easy to create a meaningful storyline, something that's compelling. I think that Seth Rollins right now is the most over face on Monday Night Raw, and
possibly with maybe Braun.
I'm saying I'm excluding Braun because we know he's out right now.
And he's also going to be facing Brock at Royal Rumble.
If he's back in time.
If he's back in time.
So, yeah, I mean, aside from taking Braun Strowman out, we don't know the timetable on his return. I think that Seth Rollins is the most logical pick, and I've been saying Seth Rollins should be the guy to take the belt off Brock Lesnar for months now.
Now, there's also the rumor about this storyline in that they're talking about possibly using Roman Reigns' illness into the storyline, similar to what they're doing right now with Dean Ambrose. Do you think that's a good move for the storyline if they go through with this?
No, absolutely not. I don't at all. I cringe when they bring that up. Dean Ambrose bringing that up, saying it essentially was Roman Reigns getting what he deserved, and for all the sins they've paid. And Dean Ambrose can cut a good promo. He doesn't need to stoop to that level to get any type of heat. I just said, Brock Lesnar and Seth Rollins have unfinished business. They don't need to bring that up as part of the storyline. Hopefully they stay away from that. I mean, the guy's legitimately sick. It's not something that they should use to their advantage.
Did you see he was at the Georgia Tech football
game? I did see
game?
that, yeah.
So good.
He looked good.
Yeah.
And you just hope that the guy comes back and is healthy.
I mean, it does create a sense of realism into the storyline that I think WWE sometimes lack in their storylines, and they kind of fall short when they don't use realism when it's there. I think they could pull it off and make it work. One thing you could have it where Seth Rollins is winning for Roman Reigns.
Exactly.
That's fine. Yeah. To kind of do what Dean Ambrose is doing and saying, Roman is paying for his sins and he's meeting with the man upstairs. That's a little
cringeworthy.
That's too much. The other part of this is Seth Rollins is the Intercontinental Champion right now. He could essentially drop it to Dean Ambrose. So where do you have Dean Ambrose go from now until WrestleMania?
Who knows? They may end up calling some people up from NXT. I mean, that's one thing we've speculated. And again, all the swirling rumors, they're going to call up at least 4 people. Nobody got called up. So
no, Lars Sullivan did.
Well, he's not there yet, but we at least got the tease. So, okay, maybe one person, but for all the people, all the rumors circulating on the internet, they're going to call 4 people up on Raw and pump the brakes, calm down. This is how these things get out of control and people get pissed off at the WWE. It's not the WWE creating these situations. It's people who just throw things out there on the internet and it just spreads like a wildfire. But going back to what you said, I don't know what Dean Ambrose is going to do or what their intentions are. To be honest with you, I wouldn't necessarily mind them seeing to put the IC championship on McIntyre. if assuming Brock's going to be the main event at WrestleMania and assuming Seth Rollins is going to be the guy, Braun Strowman's out, McIntyre seems to be the next guy that's up and coming. Give him a run with the IC Championship.
But you can also set up a match of Braun Strowman versus Drew McIntyre for WrestleMania. So that could leave Dean Ambrose out of that possibility. If Dean Ambrose is to win the Intercontinental Championship, what about Finn Balor?
Finn Balor at this point, it's kind of like he's an afterthought already, and that's just going back to the WWE's lack of ability to book. He doesn't feel special anymore. He's certainly been damaged, I would imagine. I think most people would agree. I don't know. I've said for quite some time, I think they've got far too many talented guys on the cards, and that, it even with 3 hours of programming for Monday Night Raw, they still can't get the guys on the show and, present them in a meaningful way. So unfortunately, Finn Balor, I don't know what they're going to do with him.
There's, still plenty of time left between now and WrestleMania. So the card definitely isn't created yet.
No.
And we do know that there's the rumor of Becky Lynch and Ronda main eventing. We have the rumor now of Seth Rollins versus Brock Lesnar. But there's also one rumored match, and it's on SmackDown. And they're starting to plant the seeds for this already. Now, a lot of people speculated that Shane McMahon was going to turn heel since winning the World Cup at Crown Jewel. They haven't really gone full-blown heel turn yet with him, but now the story is that they're going to start early 2019 and could set up a match with him and The Miz at WrestleMania 35. Shoot or work on The Miz versus Shane McMahon at WrestleMania 35.
I'm going to say shoot because, like you said, it seems like the most logical path based on what they've done so far. I can't say it's something I'm necessarily excited about. I wish Shane McMahon would just step aside and let the wrestlers do the wrestling. Shane McMahon can deliver a good quality match, but he's at the forefront of the show far too much now. He's going to be this new authority figure, so they say, which means he's going to be on TV quite a bit, which he's already on TV too much.
But if he's a good character and a compelling heel, why not put him on more?
I don't have a problem with him being on TV. I do have a problem with him taking up a match at WrestleMania. We're going to WrestleMania. I'd rather see, we just talked about Finn Balor. I'd rather see Finn Balor in a match that can go 20 minutes opposed to a 10-minute Finn Balor match and then a 10-minute Miz versus Shane McMahon match.
One thing that with it being WrestleMania, the show will be 5 hours long. They're going to have time with these matches. I don't think any match, for the most part, will go under 15 minutes. There are cases where they do go 10, but depending on the match and the build towards them. For a Miz versus Shane McMahon match that's already starting here in late November, early December, I would think that match would end up being one of those 20-minute matches. And the Miz, although he's not the greatest technician or in-ring wrestler, he has come so far in the last 2 or 3 years to have a good match. And Shane McMahon, we all know he's not the greatest in-ring wrestler as well, but he's one of those that's willing to do what he can to get the crowd going and do those scary stunts and go coast to coast and elbow through tables and whatever the case may be. It could be a very entertaining match.
Yeah, I think the problem and the point I'm trying to make is this. We, like you just said, we know what to expect from Shane McMahon. We know you're going to get a big spot. He jumped off the Hell in a Cell. He did an elbow drop through a table, do coast to coast. When you present it so many times and you use the same exact type of approach, it's just kind of like, if you can't one-up it, the crowd's just like, oh, I saw him do that a couple months ago. So it's kind of, if I'm there, unless he's jumping off like some scaffolding or something, it's just going to kind of be like, oh, well, I saw him do that a bunch of times. It's kind of like they know what to expect out of Shane McMahon. So I don't know. So I'm sure they are going to do this match, but it's just something that I'm really not too interested in myself.
So assuming that the 3 matches that are already rumored to be a part of WrestleMania,
right?
Becky versus Ronda, Brock versus Seth, and The Miz versus Shane McMahon. Where in the card do you put those 3 matches?
I think of those three, I mean, Shane versus The Miz, that's probably going to be somewhere in the middle, if not the beginning of the show. And
Would you
then,
start with that, like Shane and AJ did at WrestleMania 33?
yeah, I don't know. I think it would probably, I'd have to see the whole card and then kind of see what, where things would go from there. I can't be opposed to them opening the show, but they certainly aren't going to close the show. So that's the important thing. So when you have now Ronda versus Becky and Brock versus Seth, if those two matches do end up happening, which one closes the show? I'm going to have to say that I still think Ronda Rousey and Becky Lynch or Ronda and Charlotte are going to main event WrestleMania.
But you said that was a work last week with Becky and Ronda.
Well, I know that, but at the same time, it seems right now, based on the matches that you're presenting, that's the biggest one. That's the one that people are going to be most invested in because of everything that's happened with Becky Lynch and everything that's now happening with Ronda, where she's kind of getting the half cheered, half boo treatment. I think that one will have them, and you saw this with Charlotte and Ronda Rousey. That match had the most investment from the fans. That's the one that they were most invested in. Brock Lesnar and Daniel Bryan really didn't get the fans invested into the match or get them carrying her on their feet until Daniel Bryan hit the low blow in the knee and there was the near fall. I think going into the matches, Brock Lesnar and Seth Rollins, people will care about it, but I think you'll get a lot of the same thing where a lot of suplexes, a lot of the crowd not really interacting or reacting to a lot of the move sets. And then when you compare that to Becky and Ronda, I think as soon as they get in the ring, people are going to be into it and cheering. So I think that's the match to close with, at least right now, based on the matches that we kind of have presented to us.
I would agree. I would have Shane and The Miz open, put Brock and Seth maybe in the middle somewhere.
Yep.
Maybe like the halfway point of the show, and then close with Becky and Ronda Rousey. I just find this very interesting, these three rumored matches, because there's so many guys that still need something on the card.
Mm-hmm.
AJ and Daniel Bryan. Does this become a rematch at WrestleMania? Samoa Joe would need a match.
Yeah.
Drew McIntyre and Braun, maybe that ends up being a match at WrestleMania. You got to do something with both tag team belts. Unfortunately, right now, no one's really built. SmackDown at least has 3 teams that are worthy enough to be on WrestleMania, whereas on Raw, there's literally nothing outside of AOP. If Seth holds on to the Intercontinental Championship and does face Brock Lesnar, we have ourselves an ultimate challenge.
Yep.
If that happens, Intercontinental Champion versus Universal Champion, would that make it the main event?
I mean, it could. I mean, I don't even think you necessarily need the Intercontinental Championship. I think it just depends on what the fans want to see most. I still think right now Ronda Rousey and Becky Lynch has the most interest in it.
Oh, yeah, of course.
Brock Lesnar and Seth Rollins, I think they can get to that point, but it's going to take some good creative and good storytelling leading into WrestleMania, and I can't say I necessarily trust WWE to deliver on that aspect, on that front.
I can see that. All right. Well, let us know what you think in the comments below and tweet us at social media. We're at SCPB Podcast on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram, and use the hashtag #ShootOrWork. Seth Rollins versus Brock Lesnar. The Miz versus Shane McMahon. Will they happen? Again, use that hashtag #ShootOrWork. Subscribe to our YouTube channel. We're trying to get to 1,000 YouTube subscribers before the Royal Rumble. And if you're listening on your favorite podcast provider, subscribe and review so that more people can see the Squared Circle Psychobabble. For Ralph Valenti, my name is Michael Valenti. Thank you for listening to the Squared Circle.